What's so funny?
Hi everybody, welcome to Wearables Weekly super special episode number 50 today. And I'm going to introduce my co-host. I'm Cecilia Beatty, here from Temecula, California. And I have Fluffo there as Aaron Kasten. Yay!
Oh yeah, I'm here. Aaron couldn't be here tonight, so he asked me to sit in.
Who sent you? Wow.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
I was chasing some birds down the road, and he caught me. And if I could.
We're happy to have you, Fluffo. We're happy to have you here.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Hopefully you're not as snarky as Aaron is and sarcastic and what else? Let's leave it at that. Okay.
I'll try. I'm pretty nice.
You're nice. Okay. Awesome. We have Keith Acorn.
Hey everyone. And I just got to ask quick, Fluffo, are those the smart goggles or just regular goggles?
Good
yes.
question.
This is new from Apple. It's called Glasses. Glasses. Yes.
I thought it would be Apple glasses or eyeglass.
Yeah. It has to be either Apple or I. What are you doing
Glasses.
there? Just Glasses.
Oh, glass dash is.
Yes. It's like the next generation of what you used to wear on your face.
Right.
I see.
Yeah.
Good.
They invented it. The glass part. Yeah, that part. They invented that.
Yep.
Good. We have also Nobel Ackerson.
Hola. ¿Qué tal?
¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo están? Okay, amigos.
No idea. Yes.
We're going to start the show in English this time. Libby is today at a book signing for Google Glass for Dummies, so we don't have her with us today, but she's having fun and reporting hopefully next week on how that did go.
Yep, she's dedicated her glass to be the demo unit while they do this this book signing thing.
Oh, her glass is the demo unit today?
Mm-hmm.
Can we mention the authors? Do we know the authors?
We'll get back to you on that. Let me see.
Good. Yeah, we like to mention them. I know one of them for sure. We met at Google I/O multiple times, but I can't remember the name. We can come back to that otherwise.
Looks like Eric Buteau and Robert Stepsnick. Does that sound right?
Yeah, Robert Stepniks is somewhere in Europe, and he's a very, very smart guy. He comes often, but I think Libby is with Eric today, not with Robert. Anyways, let's go with the news. So we have a new Misfit Flash in this case. So the Misfit Shine has a new partner now. It seems to be, originally apparently this was like the cheap version. They called it internally the Misfit C, like as in the Apple iPhone C, the cheap version, but they actually are saying that they believe it's just as good. It's just a less fancy maybe looking. Much cheaper. I think it's going for $49, which is pretty amazing for a tracker now. It's been really competitive. They sold already 600K shines out there, and now they're coming for more. And they're plastic, so they're not like the aluminum touch, but it comes in 7 colors. What do you guys think?
I think it looks, as long as it works right, it looks decent. I'm thinking this generation of fitness bands are sort of dying, and people need to start looking at other ways to package their stuff. If they're focused on sleeping and that kind of stuff, that makes sense for it to be a sort of smaller form factor. One thing about the Shine that a lot of people complained about was how easy it was to lose one. So hopefully they fix that with this new device.
Yeah, I think for the sort of functionality that's included in one of these devices now, $100 is asking a little bit much, especially since they're becoming like integrated into normal phones, and there's just so many other fitness bands out there. I think it looks nice. I mean, the original Shine looked really nice as well. The colors are good. I imagine it's probably not waterproof like the other one was, which was one of the selling features because you could swim with it.
That's a deal breaker for me.
Yeah.
Out in the trees eating some eucalyptus leaves. I gotta have waterproof fitness trackers. Yeah.
That
They
is
rank
that
on
is
me
What's
all
true.
the
the few that I
time.
know that was advertising itself as for swimmers or something like that. But yeah, I think it's a good step. Hopefully, they can pivot into something else. And I remember reading that Misfit actually raised all of its original funding, not for these devices, but for something else that hasn't been unveiled yet. So
Oh,
maybe
that's
this just
interesting.
helps
Because
get them to
as
the
a
next step.
company, that's very interesting because as a company, they're showing to being a little different. They've been a little innovative with the fact that you can put the tracker on different ways. And now they're showing to be very effective in production costs, reducing production costs very quick. So that's showing good things about the company. I personally think, yeah, I wouldn't have a tracker because why would I have two devices when I have only one? I don't see the future of trackers to be very bright, personally.
Aaron, Aaron, why do you think it's not waterproof?
Oh, I'm just saying, since I hang out in trees and
Oh,
eat
not Aaron. I'm
eucalyptus
sorry.
leaves, I need
Fluffo.
Fluffo. My name is Fluffo.
Yeah.
As a
Yeah.
red panda, I often find myself clinging to trees in the rain, and
Right. Right.
I was making an assumption because before I think it was like fusion welded or something. There was something that really self-contained. Now that it's plastic and the picture they gave sort of had the back separate, I'm just assuming.
Yeah, the plastic. They don't really say anything in the press release, but yeah, it's a possibility. We don't really know.
I
Like,
hope
well,
they
another
stick
issue is
to.
I
I
have
hope they
very
stick to their
small
knitting.
wrists. I mean, so I don't have a lot of room. If I wear a watch or if I wear, a tracker, there's only so much real estate on my little panda wrists. So
The only cool thing for them is the battery. You're talking about 6 months battery lasting, so that's kind of interesting.
that's great.
That's fantastic.
But they don't have a screen. They're just a tracker that can be easily embedded into another device that is
Yeah.
having a huge battle out there. So it's hard.
I kind of like that approach. Are you disparaging it, or are you giving
I
it?
think bands by themselves, tracking bands by themselves, don't have a future because we're gonna have trackers embedded into our shirts, into our watches, into everything else.
Well, that's actually, and I don't know whether this is how they're marketing it, but when I heard Sonny Vu, CEO of Misfit, speak once, he had talked about how like Misfit was designed to be part of your everyday life. You didn't have to wear it on your wrist. You can wear it as a pendant. You can wear it in your shirt. You can wear it, as part of your shoe. And they would sort of sell different accessories to have it affixed to the thing that you find most comfortable in using. You could have it as a tie clip and
I
stuff
think they
like
were
that.
innovative there. I agree that they were innovative there, but the thing is they can be so small that they can be attached to any other existing device where they disappear practically.
Right, and that's their missions, like make the tech sort of blend in. They actually have a nice little something. If I can share my screen, a bloom pendant. But it serves like I think we're agreeing basically. We're saying that they serve a certain unique purpose, but I kind of don't disagree that niche is going to go away. Because I love watches like the next person, like Fluffy's little buddy Aaron likes. He loves watches. I heard. But anyway, some people don't, right? Some people like necklaces, pendants, and jewelry rather than wearing a bulky watch or whatever. So there
Well,
might be a market for this.
watches are going to evolve very fast. We're going to move on a little bit to the next thing, but basically, Polar is also coming up with a watch, and that's kind of a segue to say, and let's talk about Polar a little more. But what I'm saying is, watches are all over the place. They're going to evolve so fast and they're going to bring you a lot of more functionality. I believe we're all coming back to watches. It's just a natural thing. It's the perfect place. It's a natural thing that is going to come back. It's just we use them for probably a century or more, and they're going to come back.
So as you know, Polar's been doing wearables they're one of the OGs in smart wearable devices next to Garmin. I put them in the same class.
Garmin and Polar, yeah.
Yeah. So, often we tend to sort of look at some of these bigger players, these mobile OEMs that are entering their world, and we forget that these guys have been doing, a heart rate monitor with accelerometer on it for years now.
The question is, will they have all the rest of the things that other watches have? But let me give you a little bit of information. So the M400 that they are launching, and someone can put it on the screen if you want, it's going to cost around $200 compared to their previous multi-sport versions that were running more closer to $500. And these are very specialized for running. Running is huge, and they have definitely a market there. They can have a few people that totally love them. And so basically, they can have customized weekly targets, training targets, race time estimators, improvement in the tracking, and navigation back to your starting point. And the battery goes maybe for 9 hours with the GPS apparently included right on the watch. And for runners, I mean, you can't beat that right now with having the GPS on the watch.
Yeah, I mean, if you compare it to like a normal Garmin type watch, which I think Noble has used before and I've used, I mean, 9 hours is about standard for like something that's using its GPS continuously. I think the benefit here is that you can still use it even after you're not in GPS mode anymore. This is a normal fitness tracker.
Now that we saw your Garmin, Noble, we can say that this is the first of these sporty watches, running watches, that looks kind of cool compared to the rest, right?
But I'm, as Mr. Garmin fan myself, I say you haven't seen the new version of Garmin smartwatches, not their VivoFit brand, but the actual smartwatches. And I'm going to pull up, if I can, super quick, and then we can move on. Let me share my screen.
Yeah, if I recognize the model that Noble was using there, that's quite a bit dated, and I have one that's about 3 or 4 years old that's a lot slimmer now.
Right. So this, the Phoenix 2, for example.
No.
You don't like that, of course.
Let's put the Polar side by side, and it's like two different worlds. Like.
All right. So we put the Polar right next to it, or somebody else wants to do it. So we've got the Polar. You're just hating on it because it's what you want to call it? It's circular. I happen to like the circular watch. It's round.
It's round and old looking, like old.
For me, the shape of it doesn't. I've used watches for like I collect watches, right? I've said it time and time again in this show. For me, it's the functionality. This watch is insane. It blows this Polar watch as far as what it can track.
Functionality.
A watch that can give me my VO2 max is nuts. I don't know how accurate it is to get my oxygen information, but it
makes you happy.
It makes me happy, and the fact that I can switch from an infinite, like from skiing to swimming to I mean, there are about 70 or so different types of activities that it can accurately track to a granular type of metric, all tracked on their site. Now, with that said, one thing I give Polar credit on is the software and the mobile app. Polar's a little bit more advanced. They put a lot more thought into how they display your data, which if you're an addict and you train a lot and you run a lot, you need. So I'm a little torn. I'm huge when I'm training for my marathons and my obstacle course races. I tend to do Garmin lately, and then I export to Strava just because I like to compare with everybody else on my running club. But Polar lately has been blowing everyone out as far as that software. So I'm a little conflicted. As far as the shape and size, I'm a big fan of the circular, so I'm sorry. So anyway,
yeah. Between the two, I'm also more of a Garmin fan, but to their credit, they do have the multi-sport version. It's just a lot more expensive. It's like $400. I think Cecilia said $470.
That's double, yeah.
But I think most people that are interested in these might only be interested in running. They might not need the other stuff too. I do have a quick question for you, Noble. So you mentioned your Garmin does VO2 max. Is that like with an external accessory, or is that?
That's not my personal one. I can't afford it. And a couple people in my running club are the Justice Beavers. Shout out. if you get the reference from The Office. Anyway, a couple of people in that club have it. I'm not quite sure how it works, or how they collect that, but it's a big selling point for like data. Data snob people, like, who really want to track every little bit of shaving their time and stuff like that. Also, there's something called the D2 that does even more. They call it portable avionics on a wrist. It's like insane. So if you really, really want to get into wearables that do way more than just track your walking and your steps, which is a joke, because I could get a pedometer to give you more accurate things. Look at Garmin, look at Polar. I'm sure there are tons of other players, but these are the two leading players in the field.
Good. So
sorry, I could go on for like 2 hours.
You can go. We can see that. Fluffy, though, on the other hand, Fluffy is so quiet today. What's up with the Polar and Garmin?
I could talk about leaves all day long if you wanted to hear about.
No, thank you. Let's keep going then. If that's what you got, let's just keep going. So talking about, we're going to continue with the watches for a couple more minutes with talking about a new video providing more details on the LG Watch R. And so this is the circular version. This is the Moto X. This is supposed to be the Moto 360 competitor. And it's showing charging pins, no wireless, no clear heart rate monitor. We can see that there. But other than that, it's just your opinion, which can be conflicting, like you'll see in a second. I personally think that they are completely constraining the device with that round design that is hard-coded in there. It's hardware-wise.
If I can say just real quick, Fluffy, this is the point where you and I step back and let the fireworks go.
Okay, so what they're talking about is Cecilia's, I guess, aversion to, as I guess, your complete hate towards, new technology adopting old. How would you describe it? What don't you like about this?
I think they're constraining these to be a watch that has to look like an old watch, and that's fine because the Moto does that. The Moto can get the feel of an old watch, but it also is not constrained by it. But the R decided to put that fixed circle that has hardware-wise marking positions that mean nothing to me. So they are leaving out everybody that is more digital. They're okay. They're getting, a nice. It's very specialized. Let's say it's for people that like old-looking watches, like novel.
Okay. So there's a reason why people sort of frowned at glass when they saw, me wearing one, right? This without the frames looks so weird and so different. It is sort of a leap away from what they're used to.
Yeah, I know.
Right? I think it looks fantastic, but people don't agree. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. So this adding skew morphs to certain hardware designs, like putting grills on an electric car, makes people more familiar with what they're used to. But
you agree? Do you agree that watches are not having a hard time being accepted at all? People are loving watches.
People are loving watches, and the reason why people love watches is because they have the option of buying it circularly or buying it square or triangular. I don't know whether there's ever going to be a triangular watch, but I love it. But my point is that the inconsistency with your argument, Cecilia, and then I'm going to drop the mic. The inconsistency with your argument is that if we ever talk about the iWatch or the Apple Watch, if we talk about the Apple Watch, you'll notice that no one ever has a problem with that little digital dial thing, which is skeuomorphic. It dials back the old-fashioned wind-up watches that are mostly for kinetic watches. But they
have a functional reason for that.
Right.
That is not a thing looking old just for the sake of let's look old. They did that. They could be right or wrong, and until I touch it, I won't know.
Right.
But they did that for a specific reason that has to do with functionality. They were looking for a new way to zoom in things out and in a watch.
Right.
So that's completely different. You
That's
can compare
fine.
that
Okay,
to
so
the
with the
VR
Apple,
watch.
okay, well maybe I can't compare it with the Apple Watch, but let's say the Motorola Moto 360 also has that. The only functionality is to turn it off and on, which is a little function. It really doesn't make any sense because to turn it off and on, there's a very large touch target called the screen that you can touch. So having a functionality just to tap.
The people that have the LGG have suffered because they don't have an on and off button sometimes. I hear, like, I work with Mauro, and you know him, and he's there, and he's like, oh, I can't, you know, it's not a good thing. It might look good. It might look good. But I don't see my inconsistency because I never defended that watch, like the LGG or
But
any
you
of
didn't
those
have any
mentioned.
problems with it, though. Like,
I had a problem. When I saw the Apple Watch, and I saw that they put the old-fashioned thingy, I was like, oh, I'm going to vomit. But then they explained the functionality. And then I'm like, okay, well, that's different. If you have
It's still,
have a functional reason to introduce an element, well, I take.
Well, we. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, in the particular case of the digital crown on the Apple Watch, yeah, I mean, I think they probably decided on the design first and then figured out what they could do with it rather than the other way around. I mean, like, for example, okay, there was one good example I saw, which is where they were zooming into maps. Other than that, it was like zooming into this huge album of photos on a tiny screen.
Which
or like,
is something that
really
like
stupid.
their application launcher, which you could have other ways of doing application launcher.
Who wants to zoom in on a map on a watch with that small? Like, it makes no sense. Like,
if you're walking in the street, you might.
If you're walking in the street and you have a watch that depends on your phone in order to see something as detailed,
you're not looking into the future. You're just looking in today. Remember, in a few versions, in a few iterations of these watches, we're gonna have independent SIM loaded,
hold the phone.
GPS loaded.
Hold the phone for a second.
Watch.
No.
You have a device
make
on
any
your
sense.
wrist with a small screen, right? That has a map. You have a device in your pocket that device on your wrist depends on with a larger screen.
For now.
If you wanted, well, for now is all we have. All right. So maybe. So okay. So you're saying that maybe in the future, if they have the ability to not need the phone, they're going to remove the. I don't understand your point.
It's the opposite. I'm saying that the Apple chose to give a lot of freedom on their watch, which is, in a way, it seems like. Do you guys agree that like Apple and Google switch places with the watches? Like Apple gave people a lot of freedom and say, you know what? I don't know what you're gonna do with these things, so I'm gonna let you do whatever you want, which is so unlike of Apple. And Google went the really opposite way and said, I know what you need. And I know what you want. And I'm going to only let you have notifications because that's the smart thing to do. And they didn't let
having a detailed grid of a map on your wrist where you have to zoom in order to see details is the dumbest and most laborious thing to do. Why not just simplify it and give me what I want when I need it?
Right, which I think is Cecilia's
if
point.
You're God,
I think we agreed on.
Or super artificial intelligence, and you know what I want, then do it. But don't try to be smarter than you are. You are not you. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the.
Oh no, I try to be smarter.
Watch designers. Watch this as a watch designer, and don't try to be smarter than you are because our AI at this point is not that smart.
Okay, so I guess then we can move forward. I guess my whole point with all of this, and this is just, we'll agree to disagree forever, because my whole point is the same point that I make time and time again on this show. I had the same problem with Omake, who decided to sort of bring a mobile sort of, let's port our operating system that is built for mobile onto a watch, which makes absolutely no sense for a watch.
They were the only ones to do that, Noel. But you're mixing everybody in the same bag. Apple didn't do that. Apple did not do that.
Yes, they did. Apple put a grid of icons on a watch. A grid with a bunch of bubbles. It's the same dumb grid that I have to just then use a digital crown, a freaking thing to just go through each little individual application that is so laborious. It's supposed to be a wrist-worn device where I just talk to it or just sort of look up and just swipe up and down and go through. Maybe I'm just drinking the Google Kool-Aid, because Apple's solution, as far as the interface is concerned, is the worst. And it goes through with every single thing that they've thought through. That
as a user, I feel very limited on the Android Wear. I just share my experience.
Oh, yeah.
I don't feel that way in Glass. I don't feel that way when I wear even Tyson. Tyson is not going to grow because there's not going to be good application. It has some things that are not that good, but actually I'm more comfortable and in control of my experience when I'm using Tyson.
I think so too.
In a Samsung 2, Gear 2, that I am in an Android Wear.
One thing I don't like about Tyson is the fact that there are a bunch of applications on the device that I have to launch as well. But I can get over that. Actually, I
like that. I personally like that, and I can organize them.
Yeah, I kind of don't, but I can organize it. But I can sort of say, as far as implementation, that gives me flexibility. I'll say Tizen sort of has, sort of runs with it for me, sort of wins that crown for me. As far as ease of use and just sort of glanceable information, Wear definitely. And then you've got Omate and Apple, which I sort of put in the same box. They're trying to put the sort of mobile mindset onto a wrist, and I think it's dumb. And then they sort of try to.
You have to give Apple a chance in the sense that nobody really tried the device. I imagine that once we.
No, I tried it. I tried it with Mr. Cook. We were just chilling out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say as far as the Apple's.
I'll bring him on the show next week.
On the Apple Watch, I actually am okay with most of it. I do agree with Noble you on the grid of icons. I think these things need a launcher. I don't think the launcher on Android Wear is very good either. But yeah, the zooming and panning is not a good solution. I don't know why they did that. It's very, very not like Apple. And like Cecilia was saying before about Apple and Google seeming to switch places, I agree with that. And I think we all kind of agreed with that idea where it used to be that Apple made all the decisions for you, which is kind of like how Android Wear seems to do, and Apple seems to be opening it up more for developers right away instead of. Do you understand what I'm saying, Noble?
Yeah, I completely. Okay. We're on the same page. Yeah.
Okay.
I just think that I don't buy the fact that Cecilia doesn't want any choices for people. She thinks circular.
No. I love people to be free. I believe in democracy. Believe in everything. But I just hate personally that they restricted. Like even the Moto I'm liking more and more, and it's round. But I think it doesn't scale in the future. But it's round. I like it. The R, they kind of restricted it with a hardware. Mixing hardware and design in a digital world. I don't know. I don't believe in that. But
that's what makes it great. I hope you're completely wrong, and then the bezel actually does stuff, and when it launches, and it's going to be awesome.
It's funny because if you look at the video, at the parts where they're going all digital, the parts they're showing all the analog watch faces, it looks great. But then the parts that they're showing the digital, go back and look at it later.
It looks very weird.
You can't see the back. They kind of dimmed it down, like light-wise or something. They did something you don't see.
They turned it off, right?
Yeah. Somehow they don't have the hardware part so clear.
By the way, so all in all, we're talking about this video. We can post it on the community. It's awesome. It looks like it sort of plays like a movie. I was like, I want to watch this movie.
Yeah.
Except the plot line is very strange. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's going out to take a picture of a buck or something in the suit.
And then all of a sudden he's climbing a mountain, and then he's riding a bike. The bike comes on top of the mountain.
I will say, so the things that I kind of observed about the video that I'm very disappointed about, though, was they're still using pins for charging. I'm so used to wireless charging now. What's that?
Why does that matter?
Because we love wireless charging.
It's not wireless. You still have to.
No. We're not doing this again.
You're still the difference between wireless charging and
wires in our walls.
is
Wires
irrelevant.
but at some point you have to define the boundary, and I'm defining it on the device.
No, but it's irrelevant. You're doing the same exact action as you would with wireless. I'm doing quotes, but you can't see them because my hands don't move in this avatar. Wireless charging, Qi charging versus pin charging. There is no difference.
Okay. So let me take it one step further. So there's a technology that's A4WP charging, magnetic resonance, whatever. You might have seen this charging bowl that Intel was looking at. So you just throw all your stuff in there, and then it charges up, and you pull them back out. But there's a wire going to the bowl. So does that count, or?
Is that device available? Does anything out there work with that right now?
No, I'm just saying hypothetically. I'm wondering like what the defining problem is here. Like where does the wire have to...
What is currently available? The difference between pin charging and wireless charging, there is none. The magnetic clip on the G Watch is the same as the magnetic clip on the Omate X I'm looking at right now. I mean, it clips to it and it charges, whether there's a pin there or not.
Okay, how's about this for a differentiation? Like, I started getting that corrosion problem on my G Watch. Like, I don't think there's any corrosion on my Moto because there's nothing to corrode. Like, there's no connection there.
That's a possibility. I concede that point.
That's so funny. I still laugh
It's hard to be mad at you with that face.
It's hard because you're too cute. You're not too cute. It's too sweet even. No, this is horrible. We can't argue even. But it's a good thing. We brought Aaron to the argument, so that's good. That's good.
Is Aaron like in the background right there, Fluffo?
He's whispering in my ears.
Hope he's not bothering you.
Awkward.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that Aaron guy. I kind of like Fluffo better.
Nobody does. Nobody likes it.
So Tissot T-Touch has been released for hiking. It's a perpetual battery with solar charging. That sounds pretty good. Novel would be our expert for this one.
So it's kind of funny because I haven't seen this article yet.
Interesting.
What is this? So it's just like.
So they just launching these. Is this Swiss company that you do know, right? Tissot.
I do know the maker. I do know the watchmaker very well. I actually have a few Tissot watches.
They're launching perpetual battery with solar charging, touch-sensitive face to activate modes, compass, timer, altimeter, and barometer.
So this is like a really high.
Yeah. So this is not this
watch basically.
Above us, 1K in the price.
Probably. So this is not new at all. A lot of high-end watchmakers. Breitling, for example, makes stuff like this. So perpetual watches that never need a charge, watches that automatically sync up and tell the time accurately no matter where you are in the world. These are technologies that have been around for a long time. This one just has an altimeter that's super awesome. Of course, it has a compass. There's some modern things on it I'm looking at here. Chronograph is awesome. Timer, that's been done. It's $1250, so it's $1,250. With the model with rubber and I'm sorry, it's $1,100 for the model with rubber, and the metal band is $1,250. It's not bad. It's not like shockingly new.
I mean, clearly this is going after whatever market would normally buy this brand. It's not like the components aren't worth it, but
which also, so a lot of, let's bring this to some conversations that we've had where people complain about the price of Google Glass, people complain about the price of Wear watches out there, and I'm sure if Apple announces their watch, they're going to Apple haters that are going to talk about how expensive it is. But when you look at it, people spend more money on bags, watches, glasses, and always have done that. There's always going to be the really, really high end with specific features. Not everyone's going to be able to afford the BMW i8. I damn sure would love to, but
Yeah, it's part of the luxury market that every segment will pretty much have.
And when you're hiking when you're hiking the highest quality mountains, you can't be going in a Casio. I mean, you gotta bring it.
Yeah, exactly.
You're the real thing. Yeah.
That's right.
But it is kind of cute, the thing where like it's not just reading a digital output; it's actually like swinging the arms around. But it's obviously kind of gimmicky too.
Cool. Well, let's move from watches a little bit away from watches, and let's go to smart eyeglasses. So Sony announced his prototype of the new smart glasses. They're going to work with Android. They're trying to promote their development kit. They still look a little bit like their previous version.
It's the same version, I think.
But apparently they will allow to kind of send a hologram via YouTube that you can watch in 3D on the eyewear.
They don't look as good as mine.
Not
I
nearly
think yours. The glass look a lot better.
Yes, thank you. I was in on the design process.
It's weird because they're still doing the handheld control battery combo. I guess they couldn't get away from that.
No, it serves a purpose for what they're trying to do. Again, remember that, these types of interfaces are sort of designed to work a little differently from what we're used to with glass. But if Google were to sort of put the same minds that built glass after this device, for example, they could work a little hard to make it all voice and touch and gesture activated. But
every time I see
Go
ahead.
No. You go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say, anytime I see like a heads-up display from any of these companies, all it does is remind me like how good glass looks by comparison. Like considering they had that years ago.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. It seems like glass is going to still be the only eyewear smart glass that you're going to meet people out there in the streets wearing. For now, it has that place that nobody has taken at all, not even near.
Yeah.
And yep, Keith.
Nope.
Okay, so we go to the next thing. If nobody has anything else on the eyewear by Sony.
I do have one thing. I'm so sorry, but this is just like a wild card that I'm throwing in here. I just sort of pushed it up on my screen. There's a company, and I just remembered this, so I didn't add it to the show notes. A company called Osterhout Group. Have we ever talked about them on this show before?
No.
So the Osterhout Group, ODG for short, make these crazy $25,000 business glasses, heads-up displays that are little. I was talking to a friend of mine who works at NASA. They're selling a couple units to the NASA place out here in Maryland. And they are all outfitted with these devices. It looks like it has a heat sink on the top, but it's all AR. The idea is to sort of bring that gesture thing that I was talking about on the AR sides and get rid of what Cecilia had mentioned, get rid of the tether, right, to the hand control. And it's a little bulky, it's a little heavy apparently, but again, their market is to go straight for medical, industrial, oil and gas training, and so basically the thing that wearable intelligence are going after. And so if you guys are interested, check out ODG Glass at osterhoutgroup.com and sort of follow along. They have a developer kit for people who are interested in building stuff, but it looks so weird. It looks pretty badass, but heavy and bulky.
Yeah, those things, I always wonder how comfortable those things are. I think they're a good attempt, but I just wonder how comfortable after having worn glass.
Yeah.
It's
especially for corporate where you're going to be wearing it out in the field for a long time. Yeah, I agree.
So what is it about the technology that nobody else seems to be able to replicate as far as size? Like, I mean,
I think they simplified. They didn't go for the full thing. They didn't go for AR. They didn't go. Yeah. So with glass, you mean?
No, I agree, but like, I mean, you have to imagine the computing pieces would be the same size or smaller, because time has passed for anything new. So is it the display technology that's so bulky, or I mean, I thought there was thin.
So for I can say that for corporate use, excuse me, I think I need my water break at this point, but for corporate use, you need longer battery life. Glass can't cut it. Glass is sort of not going to be streaming video consistently for X number of hours. Like you got to imagine what a surgeon does, right? If they're trying to do telementoring, right? They're streaming video. The video is being processed
Yeah,
on the
but if you're going to
device.
be tethered to your device and battery, you might be as well tethered to an extra battery. So that doesn't really change
No,
anything.
yeah, but then that requires an extra tether. You're thinking.
Many of these devices already had the tether. This is the first one that doesn't, right?
Well, the tether for most of these devices, like the Epson, aren't
And
for
the Sony,
batteries.
yeah.
They're
And
not for
Baidu,
batteries, right? They're not for batteries at all.
Yeah, in the case of the Sony, it's the battery
Yeah.
and the control at the same time. And I think in the case of the Epson, it's the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, and
It
the
is.
one that
It's battery.
Lenovo's developing with Baidu also has like this neck thing, but that's all battery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and well, all in all, is if you can remove extra wires around it, you can actually market to, law enforcement or certain sophisticated professional duties that require intricate movements where you don't have to like get caught
Right.
on certain
cable,
other
yeah.
devices, on a cable or something like that. These are life or death type situations. So maybe a doctor's office might be a little different, whereas a surgeon, so they don't mind a wire hanging around somewhere for a battery pack. But in some cases where,
Yeah.
you're in a sophisticated environment, you don't want anything just sort of risking getting caught or tangled or anything like that. And everything then, what I was saying, has to be built into this device. You're having to deal with processing. You're having to do with streaming. Everything is all in one device. It's the technology is price and performance hasn't gotten to the point where you can get it as small as we would like. But I'm sure it's getting there, right? We're always talking about it, but I'm pretty sure it's getting there.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's more news about Wear. We have a couple companies either announcing their Wear devices, like Huawei announcing their new Android Wear. We should have put that together with the watches at the beginning, I'm sorry. But they're also, they have their bands. They're interesting. I personally think they're interesting, their bands, except that they're bands. So now they're going for the watch, and that's a public announcement they've done. So that's interesting. Also regarding Wear, we have Jawbone announcing integration with Android Wear, with Google Fit. So they're kind of opening, I guess, their APIs to all these other companies, HealthKit, Pebble, to connect and interact. So that's interesting.
Yeah, so all you would need is, and Pebble's doing this as well, all you'll need is the Jawbone app, just to clarify. All you need is the Jawbone app with any watch that you want to wear, that's Wear compatible or Pebble compatible. At least on those different platforms, you can get your Jawbone, the things that you love about Jawbone, in a nice interface that you get on the Jawbone site. With HealthKit, you can then liberate your Jawbone data to different health frameworks that house all your health stuff. So everything is all in one place if you care about it. So I think that's good.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a few companies have moved in this direction too, because it's very competitive on the hardware side, and really where the interesting analysis and stuff comes into play seems to be software. And we've seen a couple of stories in the last couple of shows where Jawbone has put together very interesting analysis of just users' data, like in aggregate, but you can imagine them applying that on an individual level too. But I have been very interested to watch Jawbone. I don't use it as my own daily device, but as far as the company goes, I think they're making some pretty good strides. And as far as the Huawei device, so before they've already announced other wearables, but this was the first Android Wear device, which was very interesting because they're a Chinese company. I mean, they have offices in other countries, but primarily they're based out of China, which blocks all of these Google services. So I'm wondering if that kind of indicates that they're moving more into the U.S. European market, or I don't know if there's some way to
just or it might just be for their own market, really.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for them to enter U.S. market because of historical issues with the way Huawei is run and how the U.S. government sort of perceives data being exchanged between a Chinese subsidiary and operating in the U.S.
And they have enough Asian markets, even outside of China, that they're really trying to pursue really hard. So maybe they're not even worried so much
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
US.
it's been very hard. Very recently, you heard Alibaba coming IPOing in the U.S. and they had to. And this gets in the weeds a little bit. I'm sorry, we can move on, but they've had to sort of set up a holding account out in the Caymans so that when you actually buy Alibaba stock, you actually don't own the Chinese company. You own the profits held in the subsidiary in the Caymans, not Alibaba. So they're
There are some things
the U.S. and China don't like to work with each other, and recently you've heard that a lot of things, U.S. companies are struggling to get their footing.
So are you saying that the Chinese lawyers are becoming as scheming as American lawyers?
No, just European. There's this whole trade war going on that no one's really talking about. That I think I want to write a post about because I've been following it very closely for several years, and this gets so away from wearables, but it's relevant. There's this whole thing where, if you notice, for years Microsoft has been penalized a lot by a lot of European companies. China is doing the same thing. Just 2 days ago, or last week, the Xbox was supposed to launch in China for the first time. You might have heard that it got delayed, and so and that's because they really didn't give us a reason. But we all know sort of pressure coming from the government, being that this is the first time the console is going to be released in the Chinese market. Very recently, with the last couple of hours, they've announced it's going to be on Monday. So these are kind of things that happen under the winds. A lot of technology and stuff is going. Trade wars are going on, especially with technology. Everyone wants to sort of have their footing. No one wants to play fair. We do the same thing, I'm sure, but we don't hear about it. So.
Yeah, normal.
I digress.
Getting back to things, we have to announce that Qualcomm is announcing their SDK for Vuforia. Vuforia is going to be, for now, I guess the arrangements are with Samsung and Epson. That's pretty interesting because Vuforia, together with Metaio, are probably the biggest, largest augmented reality engines out there. So we might see a surge of augmented reality coming because of this new SDK, Vuforia by Qualcomm. Right.
I know the Vuforia team will watch the show every week. So if you want to send us one of your Vuforia widgets, we would love to preview it and review it for next week.
Yeah.
And one thing you can interpret from this announcement too. I mean, Qualcomm chips are basically in all of the Android Wear watches except the 360. They're in even some non-Android Wear watches. So they have a big market share on the wrist-mounted wearables. And I guess this is sort of setting them up to have dominance or at least a good head start in the head-mounted wearables.
Yeah, I guess it's a little different, what you're doing. This is specific for AR. I don't see them doing a lot on watches, but yeah, you're right in the sense that they are definitely looking into wearables, and they're a company that are a big player in wearables in different even areas, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I think it's exciting. And that might be really where Samsung and Epson start to, get more interesting when you have the kind of things because those were designed for AR. Whereas glass wasn't, and that's where, these devices might make a lot of more sense with a good kit behind to do augmented reality, sorry. I'm going to go really quick through a couple more news. We have Amazon boosting the investments possibly in the wearables and Internet of Things areas. This is more like a rumor or kind of a deduction of other things that are happening, but apparently they're increasing their staff by 27% at Lab 126. Thanks, Keith, because you prepared the show notes, and those are awesome.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm excited about Amazon hopefully entering the Internet of Things. I don't know that they need to play in wearables necessarily, but it makes so much sense for Amazon to be handling like the things that are going on in your home. It really makes a lot of sense to me that they would. They could even come out with a new protocol that replaces Z-Wave or.
Oh no, not another one. No.
The problem is look at what the hardware costs for any one of those, and it's just
look the future.
It's not affordable. Somebody needs to come out with something and drop the bottom out of that market and make it to where if you want a motion detector, that thing costs you $9 and you go buy a new motion detector, not $40.
I don't know. I think that there is consolidation happening on the connectivity for these devices, but it's happening on Bluetooth, and it's going to take a while to like sort of filter down. But yeah, there's Z-Wave and Zigbee and all these devices, all these other standards.
Bluetooth doesn't have the range.
Of course it does.
Bluetooth and Z-Wave are both. Bluetooth, I don't think handles like the mesh networking very well. So a lot of these devices are using Z-Wave for home management, and then you'll use Bluetooth for the connection between your phone and maybe specific.
All right, maybe you guys can school me up, but so far everything else I've seen has to have like some gateway device, whether it's a Hue Lights or something else, because nothing else, like the phones don't talk to anything but Bluetooth right now, and that seems to be like the control center for all of these other systems.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. I think it makes sense for Amazon to come out and say, hey, look, we've got this new protocol. We've come out with this hub that is backwards compatible with everything else that's already out there.
No, that's what I'm.
But now we're using all of this, all these resources, and we're putting out hardware that now we've got $9 motion detectors, $3 window sensors, and really just the fact that it costs $40 or $90 for a light switch that is compatible with home automation. That market's not going to go anywhere with prices like that because homes don't come with it pre-built. You have to aftermarket all of this stuff, and the costs are just, unless you're a hobbyist or just really into it. My mom's not going to do that. Your moms aren't going to do that. You're not likely.
I think it's also beyond just the price. It's about how easy and how natural it comes, how everything plugs in together with everything else in a way that anybody, like you're saying, your grandma can do it. And I think we're far away from that.
Well, I mean, you're going to have to wire your own plug if you're switching out plugs. I mean, I don't think there's a solution for that. But
by the way, why is there a distinction between wearables and Internet of Things?
Because they're two different things.
Yeah.
I think
they work together.
Big enough.
They work together. They are amazing together. They're meant to each other because wearables are meant to control Internet of Things.
And I'm just sort of thinking about this for the first time. A wearable isn't.
That's why you need to think more. No.
You're right, Noble.
A wearable is a thing, and it's internet connected. IP on everything, right?
So in a sense that there is a lot of commonality, and a lot of groups and companies that are focused on one also focus on the other, even the design groups. But I think from a usage case, they're not really doing the same things. Like you don't need to interact regularly with your refrigerator or your light switches directly like you would. Well, unless you automate them.
I think really the difference is that wearables are things that are very personal that you use in your own body to either track or to especially operate and command other things, and then you have Internet of Things.
And it's internet connected.
Internet of Things, yes.
All are Internet of Thing devices, but not all Internet of Thing devices are wearables.
Exactly, it's a subset. Wearables is a subset of Internet of Things, but it's a specific subset with a specific needs and characteristics and etc.
Right.
Yeah, so I think Internet of Things, despite the very general name, has come to mean like the connected devices that are around you, not on you.
I think it makes a lot of sense for Amazon to get into the connected home. Is that better?
Yeah, it's much.
And they're already there. They are doing it in a very innovative way because when you can talk to your devices, you can talk to your TV. Now you can talk to the thing that you scan things on your fridge.
So I've set up this, I've partially set it up. There's a few pieces I'm working on so that in the end, when I have everything done, when somebody comes to my front door, I'll have a camera up there. That camera, when it detects motion, will create a trigger. That trigger will then creates a notification that then is sent to my phone. When my phone receives that notification, it launches a camera intent on my watch, where now I get a notification on my watch. When I access that notification, I see the camera at my front door, and all of that happens really quickly.
You just completely lost me. I'm about to start turning into the curmudgeon on this show that just take this wearable off, just turn everything off. I just want my wooden pipe and my little rocking chair.
So you know how people say laziness, or I mean, necessity is the mother of all invention. In my opinion, it's laziness. Laziness is the mother of all invention. And I am extremely lazy. And so this all came about where I don't want to have to get up and walk down my long hallway when somebody comes to the door to sell me something that I don't want. So now I can get a notification, see on my watch that I don't want to walk down the hall, and let them stand there until they walk away.
Right, and I think your goal is good, and that can be done in a few different ways. Like you kind of described a very long, elaborate, multi-step way, but I mean, you can also have a camera that
like a drop camera
that directly talks to your watch without going through anything else. You know,
see, and while that is perfectly plausible, I think it makes a lot more sense to have one point of contact to your home rather than have every device in your home reaching out of your home. So like, I don't want, if I have 4 cameras, I don't want every camera, independently controlled. I want one control interface for all 4 cameras.
So I wrote a paper about what you're talking about in college. That's how long ago, like 15 years ago. But go ahead. Sorry, I love what you're talking about.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been trying to do this for probably 15 years, and the technology is finally coming around where you can do that.
So, and this is going to take us a little bit off topic, but I love it. I'm like really I'm loopy, I'm tired. But I wrote something about this a long time ago about how like I should be the authenticator to all my things, right? So there've been talks of a key, your keys, or your ring, or your tattoo, or your phone in some cases, being the thing that, in context, brings your things to life. You stand in front of your computer, and that proximity turns on the light next to your desk, and your computer unlocks. So far, we sort of, if you remember back in the Windows Media Center days, this is when I was completely addicted to home automation and all that stuff. That was when like everything was sort of centralized, but that never worked, right? So I had my X10 network and all that stuff. And that never worked. So then things have started moving towards what you're talking about. You don't like, Aaron, where it's the smart bulb that actually gives you Wi-Fi and changes the hue, and you need an app just for that bulb. I don't like that either. Like I think it's just
right. I mean, if I have 90 bulbs in my house, it doesn't make sense that I need to access each one independently.
Well, no.
Well, talking about bulbs,
right?
Did you guys see the bulb that it's smart enough not for it to be controlled by you, but to say, hey, I have enough light in this room. I don't need to be on.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's
Who was that?
It was someone. Hold on. Who was it?
I just saw that not too long ago, and I just read the title.
I thought it was really interesting because it's like true smart. Like, can you sell a silly light bulb that can be operating from a smartphone as smart? Well, that's not really smart. But if I walk in the room and you turn on, or if there's light and it doesn't turn on, all those things, yes, those are going to be the true smart.
I'll be right back, guys. I gotta run.
Well, we don't know that because you're still there.
Yeah, and truly, I think that the smart devices are going to have to just be very aware of their surroundings and not have to be deliberately set up to like Aaron was describing a situation where he had to like tell everything how to talk to everything else so that this something happens automatically. It'd be nice if they can sort of figure some of that out by themselves.
Yeah, very cool.
I gotta find this paper.
All right.
One more quick one before we stay there forever. Talking about Samsung. Samsung has this power sharing cable. What a nice thing to share. You can share between your own devices. You can share USB to USB with.
Yeah, because my phone doesn't last like 2 minutes before it dies anyway. So yeah, go ahead and share a minute of that.
Well, someone can share with you in that case. Someone can share with you, and that's a good thing. It's funny because one of the examples they show is a smartphone sharing with a smartwatch, but most of the smartwatches you can't do that because you need the other thingy to actually charge them, right?
Yeah, I think in that picture they probably hide the fact that the Samsung charger for the watch is kind of small. Maybe they could hide it back there.
See.
I know. It's tricky.
Yeah, they're very tricky. Before introducing the last new for today, which is about clothes and fabric, I'm waiting for someone to ask me about my little device.
Oh my goodness! I've been waiting to ask you as well because I love it. I saw the
It's just
the
so
little
old-fashioned, but I have to tell you guys, I wanted your opinion because you know my little experiment of less is more and
Yeah.
kind of getting rid of all my t-shirts and just wearing these less is more or I'm fashion t-shirts.
Right.
Well, that kind of evolved after 9 months of wearing the same t-shirts. I kind of got bored and I'm starting to think, I love to communicate something else than less is more all the time. I like to change my message. So now I'm kind of researching this little project and doing experiments around the fact of being able to have clothes that are more meaningful and that have a message in some way. This is like a silly technology to do it.
I will pay you $1 to advertise LinksFit wherever you.
Yeah, exactly. It will also, exactly. We could do an advertisement network, absolutely, and you could pay people to do that just to work with your brand, right? And because you have trackers, you can track how many steps, in which kind of avenue, how many people could have seen it.
So a long time ago, I think somebody on the show might have mentioned this, but there was a guy sort of who he did a Kickstarter or something about like a little belt for runners that sort of advertised little things or told people.
There was a Kickstarter. There was a Kickstarter with a belt with LEDs. I think that's the one.
Yeah.
And 45 LED Packly light. I have it right here in front of my eyes. They got their goal was $7,000. They go to 32. Apparently, what they did was pretty bad. Like everybody's reporting that they did deliver, but the USB was breaking all the time. I guess something didn't go really well, and they didn't make it really big. But they did satisfy their Kickstarter thing, and yeah. So what do you guys think?
I love it. I love the idea. I still think you should go with the less is more because that intrigues me. I can't do it, but I've got a bunch of clothes that are sitting in a pile that I need to go donate. I just haven't found time to do that. I love the idea. Don't stop doing it.
I think it's a very valiant attempt, and yeah. So I wonder if there is any like fabric that allows like more of a subtle, like not like illuminated thing. I don't know. I haven't seen anything like that, but yeah, it'd be kind of neat.
You can put LEDs, and you can use Arduino lily pads to control the LEDs and do all those things. So those are the things I'm playing as a hobby now. So this is not the real thing. This is just to do the experiment.
I'm imagining something even like you could do. Well, what are those kids' toys that have a little magnetic pen and you write on it and you can like kind of erase it or whatever? You could like have something like that on your back. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, I'd rather it be digital, you know me, but
of course. Well, I mean, it can be digitally controlled. You don't have to like write it with your hand.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I see. That kind of.
You wouldn't want someone to come up behind you and like kick me or something.
Yeah. Cool. The news, anyways, that we were kind of leading into is the one about this new stretchable wearable electronic fabric. And they have the wire kind of woven directly into the fabric, and it's washable. Apparently, it even took a bullet, and it just stretches, but lets it go and come back, and it's all working. So that's kind of interesting, and it kind of opens your mind to what else is going to be possible, right? Because so many new things happening like these.
Yeah, so go ahead.
No, I just would love to see one of these guys ship something in the market.
Well, so this was definitely out of university. It's probably not going to be a product.
This is research, right?
But so the difference here, I mean, we've seen like some of these, even talked about some of these shirts online that allow you to get some heart rate monitoring, stuff like that. This, I guess, has like actual like little bits of metal woven through it. It's actually more stretchy than I would have expected, but
yeah.
But one of the things they mentioned in it was you could stretch it pretty extremely without stopping functionality, and also even if it's pierced, like it still works to a point. So they were talking about possible like usages in the military, because if someone gets shot, it can maybe know that, hey, I got shot and this is where I got shot, and project that to the troop or something like that, or police officers or anything else.
Yeah, sounds like that's
so
probably
you
the most
know
interesting.
how a lot of people were having like skin problems with corrosion from the smartwatches.
I did. Oh, no
Yeah.
conversion, it's more like allergy. But
So allergic reactions. I know, Keith, you might have had one as well on your wrist.
Yeah, it's funny because I definitely realize what the combination of issues is, and I haven't seen anybody else report this, so I don't know if it's the particular material of the band or whatever. But
did
yeah,
you,
one of the bands
which
is
was
my
the
watch.
device? In which?
I shouldn't say. But yeah, it's a basis. So the
Oh, okay.
problem is I wear it all the time without a problem. I can run, I can sweat, I can do whatever. The problem is if I wear sunscreen and put this on, within a couple of hours, I get this really it's like
Bad
a
reaction.
chemical burn, and it will actually like peel afterwards. But it's only if I go around with sunscreen on and probably sweat a little bit.
So the reason why I bring that up is that now you have metallic fabric, and I know it's only research.
I would be totally allergic to that. I can tell you that.
I think people should.
For sure.
They should definitely sort of think through
But
that.
it's interesting. It sounds interesting. We're going to have to go into a super quick lighting round because we are running out of time. So super quick. Moto 360 update. I'm very happy for it because either my total reset of all my apps and all my Wear application and everything, something is working, and my battery on the Moto is kind of working much better. So I'm very happy. This is working. Yeah, something went well. So, but apparently this update, they're fixing the Bluetooth connectivity for sure. They fixing charging notifications. That was really bad. Like you put it in the charger and you had to be looking for the little light, and you didn't know if it was charging or what it was doing when it was dead. So that's a good thing. It's gonna notify you it's charging. It's dead. It's dead, but it's trying to come back. And then bug fixes, some optimizations. Hopefully, even more longer battery life with the update. So. Good change. Microsoft supporting Android Wear on One Note app. Anybody has a comment on that?
Only that I'm a little surprised that Microsoft is so quick to jump on Android Wear. Usually, I think they would have held off a little bit longer, but I don't know. Maybe they don't have anything of their own to sort of promote.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. They
unexpected, let's say.
None of Office was supported on Android until like a month ago, right? So.
Right.
And finally, Garmin releasing an SDK for third-party applications integration. So yeah, more APKs and APIs and third-party integration, which is good. That's only for new devices, though, in the future.
Both stories say something about Google's power and the strategy of making it easy to sort of extend Android for other applications. So Microsoft doesn't have to do that much work to make their stuff Wear compatible, and Garmin just needs to find a platform for their health stuff.
Cool. We're going to events. We have the upcoming big Android barbecue, and is Fluffy back? No?
I think Fluff.
I'm back.
Oh, he's back.
Fluff
He's
is
back.
yeah.
Sorry.
So,
I had to run for a
Fluffy,
minute.
you have news. At least I haven't heard you say it out loud.
Well, as far as wearable news for the big Android barbecue, our friends at Ome sent us one of the Ome X's. And it's one of the early bird editions. The number on it, limited edition number on it, is 0000 of 1,000. So that's kind of cool.
Wow.
Yeah, that'll be in the auction, the charity auction. So hopefully we can raise some money with that.
That's
Cool.
pretty badass.
Looks pretty nice. They said this is not the actual hardware that will go out to the early bird backers. That's why this is a 00001.
Cool.
It will still change just a little bit, and the software will be significantly updated.
That's a huge get. So
Special.
definitely.
Special.
And can you tell us what? I know this, but can you tell the audience what the charity is and what?
Yes, it is Rafa House is the name of the charity. It is a charity fighting child trafficking and sexual exploitation.
Oh,
Yep.
wow.
Pretty
And it's a super awesome
Something
way
that most people think don't happen in the US, only happen in other parts of the world, but hello, it happens here, right?
It happens everywhere. And the process to the raffle, Aaron, I love the way you do it. It makes it super competitive. Everyone sort of rushes the stage just to listen. It's awesome.
Well, yeah, we do a couple of different things. So there's like the the main one where you can buy tickets and then put the tickets into the basket of the prizes that you wanna shoot for, and then we do some special ones where it's like, okay, if there's only a couple of really special things, we'll auction off it, do it like a live auction for it, which is kind of fun.
Nice.
Hey, but
Any other announcements with barbecue?
let's see. We announced the Google stuff. We're gonna have Timothy Jordan's gonna be doing an Android Wear workshop in the Code Kitchen, so that'll be pretty cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So awesome. Be there at the Big Android Barbecue October 16th to 18th in Dallas and near. Intel, next thing is Intel Internet of Things Roadshow, Hackathon, Mountain View, October 4th and 5th. I'm sure Keith knows something else you want to say about it?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I had this in here before we started talking about the IoT stuff, but it's very fitting. So, I just happened to notice that the Hacker Dojo in Mountain View will be hosting Intel Internet of Things Hackathon, not this weekend, but next. I think the first 100 people that sign up actually get like a Galileo board that looks something like this. This is the Edison board or whatever. But there's some training, and then it's like a normal hackathon. So I don't really know any more than that, except that was the weekend. And also later in the month, they're doing a similar one in New York City, October 25th and 26th.
Awesome.
Come on out.
And then we have still Modev that is happening with Wearable and Internet of Things Conference October 20 and 21st, Washington, D.C., and Google Glass Development Conference coming up at the end of October 27 to 28 in the Bay Area. And that concludes our show. If you have something else, you can say it now or forget it.
I'd like to give you my
for another week.
I'd like to give you my dissertation on my paper in college. It'll take 45
We'll
minutes.
have to do that as soon as we finish this
Noble, I think you're host
broadcasting.
next week, so you can, you can have a captive audience then.
Yeah.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
Okay, very interesting. We'll hear more about it next time, like Keith said.
Right,
Thank
guys,
you,
see next
everybody.
week.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Happy